In a show about a serial killer that kills serial killers, I find it strange that Louie Greene is the only character that feels like he's been ripped straight out of a cartoon. From his weak reasoning for revenge and abrupt ending, it's frustrating when you realise Louie actually had enough potential to be an interesting villain. But unfortunately, he ends up becoming a filler character, a common trend for the later seasons of the show. Today, I'll be discussing why everyone hates Louie Greene and whether or not he deserves it. When we are first introduced to this rock star, he's Vince Masuka's third lab intern helping with the Doomsday Killer case. He appears to be a tech whiz, and it's important to note he has expertise when it comes to creating video games. We see his impressive hacking skills when he's able to erase all traces online of the prosthetic hand from the Ash Truck Killer investigation being sold, and even improves Masuka's credit rating, because why not? He appears to have a fascination towards Daryl Tucker and his work, a liking that later borders the line of obsession.
Is Dexter as cool at home as he is at work?
I have never seen the guy make a mistake, like ever.
Despite Louie having a penthouse and multiple unique collector items, his greatest achievement by far is dating Jamie Batista. On the surface, it seems like Louie cares about his girlfriend, but she is only a stepping stool for him to get closer to Dexter. After playing the waiting game, he finally gets a chance to show Dexter the game he's been working on for 5 years, only to be met with brutal criticism. This leads to Louie feeling physically sick and starts his vendetta to make Dexter Morgan pay for his IGN review on his serial killer game. This event reveals what's behind the nerdy mask Louie hides behind, and now we get to see how at first creepy but now petty this man can be. For starters, the prosthetic hand that was sold to an anonymous buyer is revealed to be Louie, and he sends it gift wrapped back to Dexter's apartment. Next, he cancels all of Dexter's credit cards and creates a series of video logs where he rants and bitches about Dexter.
I want to see Dexter lying in his own piss and vomit.
When confronted by Dex, Louie quivers with fear and agrees to stop his obsession, only to be caught the same night with his head inside Dexter's fridge, proving he isn't scared of him. Not known to Louie, he is later spared by Dexter and instead loses his job when Dexter mails the prosthetic hand back with a note to forensics. To top it off, Dexter also anonymously sent Jamie a video log of Louie with a lady of the night, ending the relationship. Enraged by an attempt to ruin his life, Louie declares war against Dave Cutler. So he kidnaps his sister, traps him in a burning building, manipulates him into a deep friendship, ices his wife, kidnaps his love interest, leaves him shipwrecked in an ocean, and oh, he just drills a hole into his boat and then gets one-tapped by Isaac Serco. Alright, let's talk about the video game. Something that gets overlooked quite a lot is the fact that Louie shows a serial killer game to a man that lost his wife to a serial killer. This fact about Dexter isn't unknown, and I imagine was widely spread on the news, or at least talked about in Miami. At first glance, Dexter seems a bit harsh, but let's not forget, he has every right to call this game offensive. Maybe this has something to do with the writing, since not even Dexter brings this fact up, which proves Rita's presence in the show is long gone by now. This being the basis of Louis's hatred is so stupid it's laughable, and we haven't even touched on his revenge. What's funny to me is that Louie is a very wealthy man that could raise many problems for Dexter, but the simple fact is, he never poses a threat to him. In terms of Louis's revenge, it seemed like his goal was to create inconveniences for Dexter rather than hurt him. This leads to all his plans feeling pretty pathetic, and if I'm being honest, if this character wasn't in the story, it wouldn't make a difference, and that's the problem. Earlier I briefly mentioned that in the later seasons, Dexter had a decline in side characters. At first, every character was interesting and had a payoff, some sort of conclusion, but in season 7 and 8, their storylines are pointless. Louie Greene gets completely written off the show, and whether it was because Michael C. Hall didn't think 2 serial killers in 1 season would work, or the actor wanted to leave the show, it completely killed his potential of being a good character. To myself and the fandom, it felt like Louie was building up to become more, and with the direction the writers were heading with the reveal of Louie having the prosthetic hand, he could have been the real villain of season 7. About a year ago, I watched a show called Cross, and yeah, it's pretty good. A detective is trying to find a serial killer called the Fanboy, who literally changes the faces of his victims to look like famous serial killers. And not only that, his victims live their last day exactly as the killers did. Besides that being an amazing villain in the world of Dexter, imagine if Louie Greene was like Ed Ramsey in a literal sense, a fanboy killer. What if Louie Greene collected 6 seasons worth of relics that belonged to previous Dexter villains and reenacted one of each kill they committed to mess with Dexter? He has the money to fund his project and the computer skills to hack into any police database to study the methods each killer used in their crimes. The hard part would actually be finding out Dexter's true nature, but let's face it, the show was already hinting at Louie knowing a little something. I may be reaching, but I've always liked the idea of Louie buying serial killer items for his collection, and if he wasn't a wimp, maybe even being some sort of a threat. So what more can I say? Louie Greene starts off as a nerdy character who is starstruck by Dexter Morgan. And once he is rejected by him, like any human, he turns his heartbreak into obsession. Louis's only character trait is Dexter is a jerk because he doesn't like my game. But his selfishness blinds him from the fact that his serial killer game might offend the guy that lost his wife to a serial killer. With a revenge plot that started from nothing and ends with nothing, this story arc was disappointing. And when looking closely at the case of Louie Greene, you realize this man had potential. If only the writers changed his abrupt ending and gave us more, maybe he could have been great. So if you're wondering if Louie deserves the hate, my answer is absolutely. This guy was annoying. If you enjoyed hearing why despised characters are hated by all, follow the first rule of the code and subscribe. It may seem small to you, but it means the world to me. Have an amazing day.